Our topic today is one of the weirdest burglaries of all times that the FBI wasn't able to solve. It was November 24, 1971, Thanksgiving night. Dan Cooper headed to Portland Airport to take a flight to Seattle, Washington, Flight 305. While sitting in his seat, he carried a small suitcase. After the airplane took off, he called the flight attendant over. Her name was Flora Schaffner. Cooper gave her a paper, which she put in her pocket, thinking that he was interested in her. Cooper insisted Flora to sit next to him and asked him to read the paper, and that's what happened. After she read the paper, she panicked and got nervous. Cooper asked her to go over to the pilot and ask him to tell authorities about his conditions. And his conditions was that he wanted $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a gas tank for the airplane. Dan Cooper was calm and acted like nothing was happening. Flora asked him to let her see the bomb. He opened the suitcase to show her. After she saw the bomb, she went straight to the pilot and told him what she had seen and what Dan Cooper was asking for. The pilot called Seattle airport authorities and told them about Dan Cooper and his conditions. After a while, the authorities notified the pilot that he would give Dan Cooper what he was asking for. The money came from the same airline, which was Northwest Orient. When the airplane arrived to Seattle airport, authorities asked the pilot not to land and stay in the mid-air until they were asked to do so. The pilot announced over the speaker that there were technical issues with landing. The airplane stood in mid-air for almost 2 hours. During this time, FBI was taking photographs of the money, which consisted serial numbers. All the money that was given to Dan Cooper was bills of 20. The purpose of that was to be able to keep track of the money that was being used by Dan Cooper. After the airplane landed, Dan Cooper gave instructions to the pilot to park in a luminous area and asked to get windows closed in order to avoid snipers. Cooper asked FBI agents how to enter airplane and bring his conditions. FBI agents entered the airplane and gave him what he had asked for. Cooper refused the 4 military parachutes and asked for civilian parachutes instead. When Dan Cooper received the money and the 4 civilian parachutes, he released all the passengers except the pilot, assistant flight attendant, and the mechanic. Cooper gave order to the pilot to fly towards Mexico and let the back door open, fly low and low speed. After leaving the airport, there were 5 Army aircrafts following him. 1 aircraft was in the bottom, 1 on top, 3 in the back. After a period of time, the cabin crew heard like someone had jumped out. The flight attendant went to check the area and found that Dan Cooper was no longer in the airplane. And the biggest mystery was that none of the 5 aircraft seen him jump out. When the airplane landed in Reno, Nevada, the cops surrounded the area thinking that Dan Cooper was still in the airplane, but he was nowhere to be found. Police enforcement checked the route that the plane had passed. From Seattle to Reno, they found nothing. Cops gathered fingerprints from the airplane and still found nothing, except just his name that he used to purchase his ticket. It was 1971 when a man went to a newspaper office and asked for $30,000 in cash, and he would tell them where the money was located. The money was given to the man, and he gave them the money that belonged to Dan Cooper. They ended up finding out that the money was fake, and it had the same serial numbers. The serial numbers was gathered from the newspaper. Plus, a lot of people was calling the cops and newspaper agencies, saying that they were Dan Cooper. They found out after investigation that none of these people were Dan Cooper. All they wanted was attention. In 1980, a boy found $5,800 close to a river under the dirt, and the money had the same serial numbers as Dan Cooper's money. They have no idea who left the money there. FBI closed the case in 2016. The only way they would open the case is if they found the money or the pair of shoes that Dan Cooper used. FBI are sure that the money was never used since 1971 because the serial numbers were reported to international banks, casinos, stores, etc. There's a chance that Dan Cooper may still be alive, and if that's so, he would be in his 80s. Dan Cooper's crime was full-fledged, and his story is one of the weirdest, most mysterious stories of all time. There's a lot of questions that cannot be answered, and the most important one, how Dan Cooper jumped out without being seen by 5 aircraft military planes. This is our story.